Our next speaker is Dr. Melanie Cohn, a scientist and lead psychologist at the Neurophysiology Clinic at UHN's Krembil Brain Institute. And she bridges neuroscience and clinical practice to study cognition, particularly in patients considering deep brain stimulation to treat Parkinson's disease. Outside of her work, she enjoys exploring the world through cooking and travel, and I even hear that she is finishing chef school. Ooh, that's something I always wanted to do. Melanie, come on up.
Think of someone with Parkinson's disease. You're probably thinking tremor, slow movement, the physical symptoms. What's less visible are cognitive changes, like trouble remembering and concentrating. And most people with Parkinson's will experience these, but yet most of the therapy we have approved focus on movement. One is deep brain stimulation, or DBS. It's a surgery where tiny electrodes are placed in the brain to deliver electrical stimulation to areas that control movement. In the right patient, it can be life-changing, but it has risk, and one of them is worsening cognition. So if you're someone considering DBS, the question isn't just, will my movement improve? It's also, is it safe for me? These are not easy questions, because the outcomes will vary from person to person. And that's why at UHN, every patient will meet with several specialists before surgery so we can try to predict their own outcome. That includes me, a neuropsychologist, and my role is to assess thinking abilities and predict those cognitive risks. So let me tell you about one of my patients, Aisha. She immigrated from India, built a life here, and after 10 years with Parkinson's, her tremor wasn't well controlled by medication, making DBS an option. When I assessed her cognition, she struggled on almost every test. Therefore, DBS looked risky. But then, at lunch, she unpacked this stunning lunch she made herself. Now, as someone attending chef school, I know this takes planning, multitasking, attention, exactly the skills the test said she didn't have. So clearly, those gold standard tests aren't so golden for everyone. And this is the focus of my research. It's finding the limits of our tools and refining how we capture and predict cognitive changes more precisely. Most tests come from the US, Canada, the US, and the UK, countries we will call weird, because they're Western, educated, industrialized, rich, and democratic. If you're from those cultures, they work well. But here in Toronto, my patients come from all over. And after I saw more and more patients, including Aisha, I felt something wasn't quite right. So we investigated and found that even if immigrants and Canadian-born patients look the same in terms of age, education, physical symptoms of Parkinson's, immigrants still scored lower on many tasks. On language tasks, like naming pictures, makes sense. Most are in English and include things immigrants may have never seen. What shocked us was bias on visual tasks, like this one, where you simply have to match the lines above with the lines below. Here, language or prior knowledge shouldn't matter. So we thought maybe cultural differences are at play and wanted to dig deeper. But here's the challenge. With people coming from so many different places, I couldn't just compare country by country. I needed a common yardstick. So we borrowed one from a field you may not expect, economics. It's called the Human Development Index. And each country, it does combine health, wealth, and education. And each country will get a score that combines these factors. And when we use this in our analyses for each of our patients, something really surprising happened. The bias shrank. It was like fixing a lens, the picture came into focus. And finally, we could level the playing field. Something else surprised us. Our memory test showed no bias. Culture didn't matter here, it seems. So good news. But that doesn't mean they're precise. If you fail a memory test, I may not be able to tell you why. Did you truly forget, or something else got in the way? Memory is like a library. Sometimes a book is gone. That's a storage problem. Other time, the book's there, but it's misfiled. That's an organization problem. And in Parkinson, the library is messy, so it's hard to tell the difference. But the difference matters because storage problems are signals of risk to cognition. So my lab is building tests to try to separate these different memory problems. And we use MRI to map those problems back to the brain memory circuits. So my goal is not to, redo everything, throw it all out. It's really to refine what works and rethink what doesn't. And we're uniquely positioned to lead this work here at the Krembil Brain Institute, in Canada's largest DBS program, and most critically, in the world's most diverse city. So you may want to know about Aisha, I assume. So she went ahead with DBS. Her tremor improved, she had no cognitive problem, and I wish I could have predicted that with more certainty. And it's really stories like hers that drive me to make neuropsychology more precise and more inclusive for everyone. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thanks so much, Melanie. I was really interested in that metaphor you used about the library and our memories. How do you know if a memory is gone or it's just been misplaced?
Yeah, it's hard. It takes hard work. One task that I developed, I'm particularly proud of that one, because it's really based on something we all experience, right? So right now, you're all forming a memory of me. Hope it's good. So let's suppose we run into each other on Friday, right? So if it's at the Jays game, I wish also, you may not recognize me with my baseball hat and all the gear. Now, is the memory gone or not? Instead, let's say you run into me here in this building where you formed the memory. In those situations, often the memory just pops. You don't even try. So, that tells us it was an access problem. But if you have a storage problem, if it's gone, then it doesn't matter how we nudge it, it won't come up.
Very interesting. Yeah, thank you so much. Wonderful presentation. Thank you.